Welcome, everybody. We're just getting started here with Reimagine Cambria and Blair counties, visioning sustainable communities. We're so glad to have you here. We're just going to let a couple more people join in, and then we'll get started. Great. So I think we can begin. And so I'd say, Etta, please go ahead and begin the introduction to the event.
I'd like to start off with thanking everyone for coming, and especially our speakers who have donated their time towards this vision of creating an awareness to start with of sustainability and taking a holistic look at things. There's been many programs about sustainable energies, sustainable economies, and so forth. But when we look at sustainability holistically, then we look at the whole of things. And when we do that, and we look at the communities and we think, what is it that we need to be sustainable? And first of all, it starts with a lot of things about individuals being able to sustain themselves. And then if they're able to sustain themselves, then it leads into sustainable communities. And we look at what they need to sustain themselves. We think about air and water and food and knowledge and understanding in order to make good decisions. And that is very important with the health aspect as well. So I really admire the speakers for agreeing to this undertaking, because every one of your areas of expertise is so profound and in need. The food production, the healthcare, the education, and the knowledge and understanding, and of course, helping people get where they need to go, in the advocacy. And so I just can't thank you enough. I hope that this is the beginning of an awareness and a public engagement to appreciate these anchors in our community of the fields that you represent, and we build upon that. So thank you again.
Thank you. Now go ahead, Heather.
Thank you, Etta. Etta's done a wonderful job cultivating this group of speakers, and you're experts at what you do. You're not like the mayor or somebody on TV, but you contribute a lot to your field, and you're going to share that tonight. And so we look forward to hearing from you. And the idea of the visioning sessions, which is, I'm with the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania, and this is something that we do. We have these Reimagine visioning sessions. We've had them in different counties, and now it is Cambria and Blair's turn. And I'm so delighted to be launching this tonight here, and we look forward to continuing to interact with you. So tonight we're going to hear about people working in different areas to bring more sustainability, environmental, economic, and social sustainability to our counties. And after tonight, we hope to bring people together into groups to work on their own ideas. We're going to ask tonight, the audience, you're not just listening to the speakers, but you're contributing your own ideas as well. And we'll be doing that in the breakout session, where you'll have a chance to write in a Google Doc, like your idea for making it more sustainable, socially, environmentally sustainable. And we'll also have a discussion. And then someone in the breakout group will volunteer to summarize that when you get back to the main room. So we look forward to your participation and hope that this is just the start of starting to work on solutions and working in groups to make things happen. So thank you very much. And now I'll let Mark handle the tech stuff.
Yep, that's what I do. Handle the tech stuff, and I just want to give everybody a little heads up one more time that we are recording tonight's program. Please make sure to keep your microphone muted at all times, and if you're making noises, you might find that I mute you. If you have any trouble unmuting yourself and you'd like to speak, or you need to unmute yourself prior to the breakouts, feel free to text me privately in the Mark Dixon text me here place in the chat. Privately, you can just chat me there. We are also transcribing. There's closed captioning happening. There's a setting in your Zoom software that lets you view the closed captioning if you'd like to do that. I'll also be a timekeeper, and I just ask that all presenters keep their presentations to 5 minutes. I'll be giving speakers about a 4-minute warning, and then we'll go through all the speakers in that way. Also, you can share your questions in the chat. You can find the chat option. There's generally a button in your Zoom app, or the ... or more text around the button for entering information in the chat, depending on your device you're on, or if you're on a phone or on an iPad or a tablet or a desktop or a laptop. It's different on multiple platforms, but if you have any trouble reaching the chat, you can Google it, or you can try to chat me on Zoom as well. Or you can also text me at 415-672-5537. I'll put that in the chat in just a minute as well. Okay. If for some reason you have some affiliation that you're concerned about, you're all welcome to indicate that you're speaking on your own behalf and not as a representative of your company or organization. So feel free to give that caveat if that's appropriate. And I think that's all that I have right now. And so I'll turn it back over to Heather and Etta.
I think we can go straight to the first speaker,
Super.
John Augustine, the Administrative Director of the Greater Johnstown Career and Technology Center.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys for having me. It's a delight to be here, and kind of full circle commercial here. I was born and raised in Altoona, and I've spent my professional career in Cambria County. So this topic of reimagining both counties is very near and dear to my heart. So I am here representing the career and technical education in the community. And I'm a graduate of the Greater Altoona Career and Technology Center. And then I've been a director at 2 other career and tech centers in these 2 counties. So this is a subject that's really near and dear to my heart. What I'm going to focus on for you folks here over the next 5 minutes is what are the career and technology centers that are in our 2 counties? What is career and technical education? Why technical education is important, and how, most importantly, my talk's going to give you opportunities to get involved in any of the 5 of these CTCs. The information I share with you, all 5 of us have to do in the area. So I believe Mark has given me the opportunity to run the screen here, Mark, to share. So we are very fortunate in our 2 counties. We actually have 5 career and technology centers that are in our 2 counties. I represent GJCTC. We serve all of the school districts south of Route 22 in Cambria County. Admiral Perry AVTS serves all of the schools north of 22 in Cambria County. And then Johnstown School District runs their own for the proper city of Johnstown. Then in Blair County, you have the Greater Altoona Career and Technology Center, which serves all of the school districts in Blair County, with the exception of Tyrone. Tyrone runs their own school district. So that's where all of your career education happens. The most important part of my slide here today is all of these schools belong to an organization called Advanced CTE, Advanced Career and Technology Education. So they say it better than I do. Bear with me. This is a 2-minute and 30-second commercial. And I think you guys are really going to get a lot out of this.
Ready to take on the real world, right? So what's the secret?
Is the sound coming through?
Say hello to CTE. CTE.
Yes.
career technical education. Maybe you've never heard of it, but CTE gives learners an academic foundation along with technical skills and hands-on experience in a whole bunch of different areas to help them get ready for the real world. Think of CTE as a high school experience, but with even more value because it fills a big gap for a lot of students. In fact, CTE learners and their parents are 3 times as likely to say they're very satisfied with the ability to learn real-world skills as part of their education as compared to non-CTE learners and their parents. And since over 75% of CTE learners enroll in post-secondary education after high school, CTE is definitely creating a path to college and career success. And get this, they have a graduation rate over 10% higher than non-CTE students. Did you know 89% of parents think students should receive more education about career choices while in high school? That's where CTE comes in. Think about it. Is it better to experiment with career choices when you're paying money to do so in college? Or should it happen in high school so students know a lot earlier whether a career option is the right fit? The answer is fairly obvious, don't you think? Now let's talk about why CTE is good for business and industry. It's pretty simple. Companies want skilled employees, and they're having a hard time finding them, which can cost a company money in lost productivity. Enter CTE. 6 of the 10 hardest to fill positions are in technical fields or require a CTE background. In fact, about half of all CTE learners are enrolled in programs in leading fields such as healthcare, STEM, and information technology, matching employer needs with student passions. CTE programs directly connect learners in high school and post-secondary with employers through internships, apprenticeships, and other meaningful on-the-job experiences. When it comes to CTE, more than twice as many CTE parents report being satisfied with internship opportunities. That means a lot of doors are being opened for kids. So here's the bottom line. Parents want their kids to find a career they can be passionate about. Kids want the same thing. And when you think about the real world, what could be better than having learners enter a field they know is right for them with a ton of hands-on experience? It's all possible thanks to CTE.
So I'll pause it there. So that's a quick commercial. It is not the VOTEC you may remember. We are definitely high tech in everything that we do. So why support CTE? Well, quite simply, our graduates stay, work, and play in the areas where they're trained. Like I said, I've worked at 6 different CTCs, 3 of them in the counties that we're talking about. And I can tell you, it doesn't matter what gas station I go to, I'm going to run into a CTE grad. So what are the opportunities for you to get involved? And this is really the takeaway point I want you to have from this evening. Every career and technology center offers these 4 different options for you to get involved as a member of the public. We all have to have what's called a local advisory committee. That is a committee made up of people just like yourself that are on this call today, and you actually meet with the administrative team. We are required by the Department of Ed to have a public committee that meets with the administrative team of career and technology centers. We have an occupational advisory committee. These are very specific to the trades we teach, be it auto mechanics, welding, machine shop, cosmetology, culinary arts. If you run a restaurant, you can be on the occupational advisory committee. Every CTC program must meet with their advisory committee twice a year. And that is where the people that hire our students tell us what we should be teaching. It's a very powerful committee.
5 minutes, John. Thanks.
Yep. Co-op opportunities where you can hire our students, and then federal Perkins Planning Committee where you can get involved in telling us how to spend our money. I hope you get involved in career and technical education. It really does support the county. Thanks.
Thank you very much, John. That was really good. It was very informative.
Great.
So,
Very much.
and it expanded my awareness of what the CTEs do. So
Good. Glad
the
you enjoyed it.
let's see, the next speaker,
Andre.
okay, have Andre speak.
Okay, Andre, you're on.
So as I'm getting ready to share my screen, my name is Andre Holsey. I'm the president of the Blair County National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which is the oldest branch in the entire Pennsylvania State Conference of our nation's largest and oldest civil rights organization. Just kind of as a disclaimer, though, the NAACP doesn't just service people of color. nor does it only accept members who are people of color. Often when we solve issues for minorities in many communities, we solve those same issues for lower class and middle class members of society. So we're multidimensional, but I'm going to get into the presentation. Health, well-being, and safety through education and advocacy services. We're going to jump right into it, right? So the NAACP has what we call 6 game changers, right? And so those are various sectors that the NAACP works in that affect the communities that we live in and that we service and that we want to improve, right? I'm going to focus on 2 of them for this particular talk, but in the chat room, you're more than welcome to ask me about any of the other 4 or any deeper questions about these 2. So the first one is education. Is economic sustainability, right? So that's framed in the lens of a chance to live the American dream for all. So I like to frame things in end states. I've been in the United States Army for going on 4 years. We often talk about our mission, task, purpose, and our end state. So what do we want to accomplish? So the NAACP's vision as far as economic sustainability is that every person will have equal opportunity to achieve economic success, sustainability, and financial security, right? So there's kind of a lot behind that, right? But how can we break it down? What are the key tasks that we can use to achieve this economic sustainability, success, and financial security? So I like to break those down into 3 further categories of my own making, which are about securing opportunity, providing preparation, and ensuring sustainment. So how can we do that in the economic world, right? As far as securing opportunity, what the NAACP here is doing. I just had a conversation today with the fire chief for Altoona Police Department, talking about wanting to diversify his force. Mr. Sheets called me before I left for Fort Knox, sat down and talked about how he's opening up full ride scholarships for 8 students that'll be on a constant rotation here. But while those things are fantastic and they're great for people who are looking into college education, how do we look into securing opportunities for people who are not going into higher education? People that feel like they might not have a lot of opportunities. And so right now, what our NAACP branch is working to do, we're working with the Hemlock Project, and we're looking at places like the Adelphoi Village. We're looking at local jails. We're looking at high-risk neighborhoods for crime. And what we're doing is we're taking kids from these, high-risk areas, these at-risk youth, and providing them opportunities to do something other than sitting and staring at 4 walls inside an in-school suspension room or rehabilitation facility. And it's not to say that those means aren't necessarily effective in their own ways, but what we want to do is give the opportunity for them to get some kind of certification, where they're already at to advance their well-being. So with the Hemlock Project, we're going to be taking at-risk youth, and if they volunteer 40 hours of their time, planting trees, cleaning up parks, restoring state parks, they're going to receive environmental certificates from Penn State University and the State Department of the Environment to enable them to go work for AmeriCorps. And once you start working for AmeriCorps, you automatically have expanded the job field that you are now eligible for. And it has its own federal connections that go on with that, right? And then with that, we got to provide preparation. So it's not just providing those certifications. How are we properly preparing people to go into the job field? How are we properly enabling inmates in prison to get back onto the streets? Those that are not, thank you. Those that are not violent or a danger to us. How do we prepare them to get back out and engage the community and do something that contributes to society? So we're working on mentorship programs. We're looking at an adult mentorship program as well as a youth one. But right now, my treasurer, Jeremiah Witherspoon, is currently running the Scorch and Boxing Gym. And what he's doing is taking 11 to 17-year-olds and even younger. My 7-year-old stepdaughter is in his program over there. And what he's doing is he's teaching them self-defense skills, yes, and he's helping them get physically in shape. But at the same time, he's teaching them how to run a business. He's mentoring them through school, and he's bringing people in front of them that can serve as inspirations in their career paths down the line, right? So that these kids not only have the ability to be physically healthy, but also mentally well, that they know how to cope with changing situations around them and how to adapt to go into the job fields that they want. And then beyond that, in ensuring sustainment, you need to make sure that these processes are protected, right? That you're going through the proper legal avenues, that you're adding allies to these various networks that you're making so that it can continue and expand, right? Because everything can't rely on just myself being the president of the NAACP or one particular person running a program. In the words of Doug West, it takes a village to raise a child, right? Quoting the old African parable. What we want to do is incorporate these things into the way that we regularly run systems, in talking with Judge Capriva in the Blair County Courthouse, in finding ways to rehabilitate people after they get out of prison or before they, ever get to that stage when they're in the early stages of crime. Ensuring that this is a cycle that can repeat where we're taking people from, possibly the lowest points in their life and putting them back up on mountaintops, enabling them to succeed, enabling them to integrate into communities. Then after that comes education. So just a disclaimer, my mother was an educator for 35 years. My sister is about to be an educator. My dad worked for school districts for 44 years. So lots of educators, around me pretty much constantly, right? So the NAACP's view of education is that every child should receive a free, high quality, equitably funded public pre-K and K through 12 education, followed by diverse opportunities for accessible, affordable vocational or university education, right? I don't know an educator that would disagree with that, but we struggle to get to those stages. So what are our key tasks to accomplish these things, right? First and foremost, okay. I can talk some more about these in the chat room, but just to sum it up, build and demonstrate paths to success, keep kids in school, and expand teacher experience. We need to diversify our workforce, diversify our curriculum, and give students more opportunities. And that is all from me. You can ask me any questions in the chat room.
Thank you, Andre.
Thank you, Andre, for a great presentation. Now, if we can have Drew Yingling, the Altoona Area School District Department Chair of Guidance Counseling.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to everyone this evening. And yes, I am the School Counseling Department Chair for the Altoona Area School District, where our mission is to, we seek to continuously improve the climate, culture, and student achievement within a safe environment by fostering trust, collaboration, and progressive communication. And our vision as a school district is we will continuously improve the Altoona Area School District so that all are an integral part of our learning community. And we strive to cultivate a safe environment where all learn and grow through positive and respectful interactions. And so what does that mean as far as where I'm coming from and why I feel that I was asked to be part of this presentation, this panel discussion? So education, and you heard John and Andre speak very eloquently about it so far this evening. And as a public school, we are trying to encourage all of our students to create goals, to think ahead to the future, to be able to establish, okay, what is it that they're striving to accomplish in their lives, and some of the programs that we're trying to do to establish those goals within all of our students. And we know that it takes community partners to be able to do that. And so one of the charges that the state has come down is the college and career readiness act, if you will, and what we're charged with doing. And that is every child who graduates from high school has to have a career plan. And what does that entail so that all students will know where they're headed or have an idea of what they want to achieve, where they're going after high school, because a pre-K through 12 education is just the start. And so that's what we're trying to do within all our students. And easier said than done, of course, but that is our goal, because one of the things that really makes my heart sink is when asking a graduating senior, hey, what is it that you're planning on doing? I don't know. That is crushing. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that every student has opportunities, has exposure to different careers. What is it out there that they want to do? What are the different careers that are in our community? I'm on a committee called Basics. It's businesses and schools invested in cooperative solutions. And so educators, community members, business leaders, the local Career and Technology Center, the GACTC that you heard John mention earlier, we're all part of this committee. And what is it that our community needs? What employment opportunities are there for the members of our community? How do we draw people into our community? And establish that and make sure that our communities continue to grow. And in my mind, it's not just about Altoona Area School District, it's about the community at large. With technology and the world has certainly gotten a lot smaller. And so, things that affect Altoona are going to affect Hollidaysburg, are going to affect Johnstown and vice versa. So how can we sustain Central Pennsylvania and then in turn Pennsylvania? And so, through the pandemic and things, we're looking at, hey, how can we're getting back in-person learning. How can we establish those relationships with our students? How can we, improve the environment here? How can we help them continue to grow? Dealing with those social issues that they may be having, coming back in person and dealing with those things. Thank you. Excuse me. And therefore, allowing them to be able to focus on their education and come in and not have to deal with all the social pressures and those issues that they may be facing. So really making sure that there's a safe environment for students so that they can continue to grow. And then again, with the education aspect, making sure that we have the programs and that we're providing the education that will fulfill needs in our community, partnering with local colleges and universities to say, hey, we're running these programs. Will that fit in what students need to be able to be successful in the programs that you are offering? We built this beautiful new building, a lot of opportunities here. We have the flexibility to advance with technology as technology constantly is changing. So it's a real exciting opportunity for our students in the community to be able to gain that education, to be able to gain that expertise, to be able to gain that exposure to the many opportunities that are out there. And glad to be able to share more in the discussion afterwards. But that 5 minutes certainly goes very quickly. So can talk a lot more about it. It's something I'm very passionate about, building community. I've been born and raised in Altoona and live in Central Pennsylvania, and just this is where my heart is, and I want to see it be successful. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, and we appreciate where your heart is. That's very good. So our next speaker is Tracy Selleck, the administrator for the Cambria County Behavioral Health, Intellectual Disabilities, and Early Intervention. Tracy.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I echo what everyone here on the panel has expressed, that I appreciate the opportunity to participate in this experience. And really, it's a great opportunity to come together, hear what others are doing in the community, and also hear from the community what is recommended or what they sense are the needs, because it's usually the consumers of services that really have the best sense of what's working and what's not, and what the next steps have to be. So I am the administrator for Cambria County's Behavioral Health, Intellectual Disabilities, and Early Intervention Program. I also oversee our Homeless Assistance Program, our Human Services Development Fund, and I am the overarching oversight for our single county authority or drug and alcohol program. So as far as my existence really is around human services and the local county government human service needs. I just want to share as far as the vision statement for Cambria County is that every individual served by a Cambria County Human Service Program will have the opportunity for growth, rehabilitation, recovery, and inclusion in their community. They shall have access to culturally competent services and supports of their choice whenever and wherever they are needed, and they shall enjoy a quality of life that includes family members and friends. The mission statement for Cambria County Human Services is the Cambria County Human Services mission is to promote and support a vision of hope and recovery, empowering every individual to direct their treatment, rehabilitation, recovery, and daily life in a manner that is responsive to their individual needs and values, and which promotes a satisfying, sustainable, self-reliant lifestyle. I think a lot of times we're really pressed to come up with mission statements and vision statements that hit all of the touch points. But as I kind of prepared for this and reflected upon what it is that we do, I do feel that our human services agencies do hit a lot of those touch points. I think a catchphrase right now that many of us are very familiar, at least in the human services field, is social determinants of health. We have really begun to recognize that an individual is not defined by the particular silo of funding that they might fall into. Historically, is drug and alcohol funding or mental health funding. And it's really recognizing that people are not struggling with or facing challenges with one particular item. It's across different areas, and it's really the opportunity to really address them as a whole person, as a whole health approach, and all the aspects of life. When we talk about social determinants of health, we're talking about things like food security, housing security, financial security, and I think you hear that in different terms. I always try to take the positive language as far as we hear things like food insecurity. And really, I think words have the power that you give them, and it's empowering individuals that those things, with the assistance and support, we are here to accompany people on their journey. We are here not to do it for them or to promote enabling that, people cannot function independently. My hope is, and I've always said, I knew, people find this funny, but when I was in 8th grade, I knew that I wanted to work in community mental health services. And I remember, a professor in college saying that, that's where most of you are going to wind up, just working in community mental health. And I really think it's all of these folks that are on this panel, and perhaps many of you who are participating in this call. We are the agencies that are boots on the ground, people that are interacting with folks and seeing what the challenges are. And really are the ones that can affect the most positive change for individuals. One of the things that I've enjoyed over recent years is the Human Service Block Grant, which has allowed us to not be restricted by siloing of funding. It has allowed us to share dollars across cost centers whenever necessary, to ensure that the areas of need that we are identifying here in Cambria County are where we focus our dollars, and not dictated by a very traditional outline that was created for for behavioral health and substance use in the past. One of the things that I really believe in, and we continue as human service agencies, is to promote community collaboration, community integration, and community inclusion for all of our individuals, whether it's somebody struggling with substance use or an intellectual disability or any of those areas. And really recognizing that no matter what a person's background or experience is, that they are basic things that everyone strives for and thrives in the circumstance in which they thrive in. I think, and just in closing, I would just like to say that, I appreciate for this opportunity. I'm willing to talk about the many things that we provide, and we are not restricted just to traditional mental health. And much of what we address, we have numerous housing programs, and those programs are not designed to promote long-term reliance on programs. We try to develop programs that teach independence, and with an ultimate goal of people being independent and self-sustaining in the community. And I just want to thank these folks for the opportunity to speak today, because it's the work that we do every day. I think sometimes we take for granted that people know the things that we are doing. And, when we have these conversations, I think people, we're surprised to hear, I didn't know people didn't know this. So it really is an opportunity for all of us to showcase the great things that are happening. I've learned a great deal just from the 3 speakers that spoke ahead of me. And I think that if it gives us an opportunity to brag a little bit about what we do, and also to hear people's voices and plan for what endeavors we would like to take on in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tracy, for an uplifting speech. And our next speaker is Chris West, the Director of Life Stabilization Programs for the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank.
Great, thanks so much. So good to be with everyone. And I'm, as Heather said, the Director of Life Stabilization Programs. So that is our SNAP work at the food bank. So we do SNAP outreach, help people sign up for that program. We have a call center at the food bank, which is new since the pandemic. So that we can take incoming calls, get people not only signed up for food bank programs and food bank services, but also refer folks to organizations and services that they might need in their local community, whether it's food or other resources. And that's the third part of my job, is thinking beyond food and what other resources can we connect folks to, and think holistically about the person and about the issues of food security. So I just want to talk about a little bit about some of the programs that the food bank does, some things you might not think that we do, and then also how we're looking for partnerships and new ways going forward. So and the food bank, so we are in 11 counties of southwestern PA, not quite to Blair, but we are in Cambria County. And just to run through some of the things we do. So when you think of the food bank, you might think of food pantries, and we work with partners in Cambria to make sure that we're getting food to communities and to people that need it. We also, new since the pandemic, do drive up food distributions. We have one in Johnstown, so that you might be familiar with that as well. A few things that you might not know the food bank does. We work with the Local Food, Local Places initiative with the local United Way, working, I mentioned, with SNAP, but also to get SNAP at Farmers Market in Johnstown. Summer Food, working to get those sites up and running, kids and communities connected to those sites, so that folks have that resource. And the folks doing that work that many of you may be connected with is Keela McDonald, Chelsea Novak. So some of you might know them. So they work in Cambria and live in Cambria. And some of the other things, if I can share my screen, that'd be great. So I wanted to share a couple of things here. One is a resource flyer that we have.
You should be able to now.
Great, thanks. That we have for folks, which, and I'll provide this so folks are able to get this after the call, but it just kind of runs through. So we can help sign people up for SNAP. Which is a Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, provides folks with money on a card that they can use each month to help to buy food. And besides that, we can help, and this is all kind of one-stop shop. Our call center can help with all this. So help folks find a food pantry in our neighborhood, get kids connected to free meals, whether that's over the summer, after school, backpack programs, attend a drive-up distribution, and if folks have emergency food situations, have questions, we can answer all of that. So, and that phone number is for our call center, the extension 655, right there. So, the
4 minutes.
Great. The other thing that I wanted to share here is this graphic, which I think really speaks to the food bank recognizing that food is just one piece. We heard Tracy, Etta, talk about thinking holistically about the person, and that's what the food bank is really trying to do. Food is important, but it's just one piece of what somebody needs to lead a healthy, healthy, productive life. Takes food, healthcare, financial stability, employment, transportation, childcare, housing. So, how can we connect folks to those resources? How can we partner with those resources in new ways? Providing food at places where maybe folks go for healthcare, or that they go to get help with employment, or making sure that transportation options are available. So really broadening our partnerships to ensure all those needs are being met. And the last thing I'll say is we also have a stakeholder engagement initiative going on right now that folks can get involved in and weigh in on what the future of the food bank is. So, and I'll include information in that goes out as well. So whether folks want to weigh in right now with the stakeholder engagement initiative, or work with us to make sure that folks not only have food for today, which is very important, but have long-term food security and some of these solutions to make sure that all of needs of the folks are being met. We're happy to talk about that and form new partnerships. So thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here, and looking forward to seeing how we can work in new ways in the community.
Thank you very much, Kristen, for thinking of describing the holistic approach of the food bank. It's more than just food. Well, food is important, though. So our next speaker is Jerry Green, the Vice President of the John Kennedy chapter of Trout Unlimited. Jerry.
Hello. Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank you for...
It's all good. You're good.
Okay, I'm good. I'd like to thank you for having me here. I was a little tentative about this. I just want to give you a little background. I said I'm 70 years old. I live in Roaring Spring, which is a small rural community in southern Blair County, surrounded by mountains and farmland. I'm a high school graduate. I have some college education. I'm a veteran of the United States Army. I'm a lifetime member of Trout Unlimited. I became a member of Trout Unlimited about 23 years ago. My first involvement with them was attending a fly tying class that they put on every year free to anybody in the community that wants to learn the art of fly tying. They supply vise materials and everything that's needed. When I did that, I've fished all my life, but I've never fly fished. So I thought maybe, now's the time I'm going to be this great fly fisherman. Well, I don't know that ever happened. 23 years later, I tie ugly flies. I catch trout with them. But what I did do was got bit by the other side of what Trout Unlimited is. And Trout Unlimited is a conservation program. Everybody has this conception that Trout Unlimited is this fly fishing community, and that's their hook to get people like me, but that's not their mission. I'll put it that way. And so I was quick to learn that their mission really is to restore, conserve, and protect the cold waters of the Commonwealth. And in doing that, they do various things conservation-wise in the field, as in the way of stream restoration, water quality monitoring, planting riparian buffers, and we do a lot of educational things. I do a lot of STEM nights. I do a lot of science fairs. I do presentations on macroinvertebrates, the bug life in the streams. And then about 13 years ago, along came a program called Trout in the Classroom that was launched by PA Trout and the Pennsylvania Fish Commission. And what we do is we take approximately $1,500 worth of aquarium equipment and chillers and everything and place in the classroom. We receive trout eggs. We hatch those eggs. We raise them, and as the coordinator, I visit all my schools. I have schools in 3 counties. I'm in Huntington, Cambria, and Blair County. So I travel around, but once we start the egg hatching process, I visit all my schools, and then each school we take on an all-day field trip. And in the beginning, I thought I was educating the kids, but I think their curiosity and wanting to know about cold water has driven me to dive deeper and deeper into conservation and environmental problems that we have in the community. So, Pennsylvania has 86,000 miles of streams. Unfortunately, 20,000 miles of those streams are impaired, whether it be industrial, acid mine drainage, agriculture. It's, there's just many different things that have brought this up. The good news is, especially in Cambria and Blair County, little by little, we are bringing the quality of a lot of our streams up through efforts of local conservation districts and watershed groups and environmental groups like Trout Unlimited. This is also combined with efforts that have come from upgrading sewage treatment plants, acid mine drainage treatment sites. There have been a lot of them put in Cambria County and everything. So the bad news is it appears that extreme climate issues are compounding naturally a lot of our man-made impairments. This makes it harder for the grassroots groups to preserve this precious resource. So, it concerns me. Scientists around the world have been sounding the alarm. And my question is, when will we respond? Because there's nothing more important on this earth than clean water. So if the water disappears, we have nothing. You lose your food source, you lose your life source. So that's my story.
Thank you very much for your story. Thank you for your story, and I enjoyed hearing about your evolution on this topic.
Can I just leave you with one of the things that I come across stuff and it's just something that struck me that sort of was me, and it's something that came from Henry David Thoreau that says many men go fishing all their lives without knowing that it's not the fish they're after. Thank you.
Thank you. Very profound. So our next speaker is Simon Idle, who is the processing plant manager at Vale Wood Farms. Simon.
Thank you, Heather. And I'm going to share my screen here quite shortly. But just to start out, thank you to Etta, of course, for having the foresight to have me included. I appreciate it. And really being vigilant on watching the newspaper. That's how she caught me. So I am involved at Bellwood Farms. I attended Penn State for food science, and so my focus is on food processing and of that sort.
You should be able to share your slides now if you like.
If anybody's bored out there or just having a rough night, I tried to include some photos so everybody can just kind of relax and enjoy the cows on pasture, or just some simpler things. So, like I said, Bellwood Farms, we're a dairy farm, and we also process milk and deliver that to people's houses. Our slogan is "From moo to you." So we do everything from growing the crops to feed the cows, and we take that milk, we make ice cream, you name it, butter, and just everything you can name under the sun for dairy products, and we deliver that to people's houses in about a 60-mile radius. So that's just a little basic touch, and then I'm going to jump into it here. So the history and background. So in 1842, my ancestors immigrated from Switzerland to this area, and they were originally potters. If nobody's familiar with the area, it's kind of on the mountain, but we're in a little bit of a valley that has a lot of blue clay, and that was the reason for settling here, is they had blue clay to make pots. So as pottery became a thing of the past, they moved to agriculture just because everybody had a farm. So they settled on being dairy farmers. So then we didn't start processing our milk until 1933 at the height of the Depression. Of course, the most opportunity reigns when the times are worse. So fast forward to the modern, or the present day business scope. So it's a third and fourth generation. I'm part of the fourth generation, and we have about 50 employees, and about 15 of those are family members. And again, like I said, we deliver to a 60-mile radius. So we deliver anything from people's houses. We do schools, we do prisons, institution business, grocery stores. So hopefully, a lot of you have heard of me. If not, feel free to check us out. And then, like I said, a full line of dairy products. The picture's a little dated, but that is just kind of an overview of all the different food products that we make. Pretty much, if you can enjoy it, we try to make it. So we really try to touch base on a lot of the customers' needs. So as everyone really talked about, there's three aspects of sustainability: environmental, economical, and social. So really the important part of environmental is the upcycling of not just dairy cows, but ruminants in general. They have the great ability to turn a lot of inedible plants and upcycle that into nutrient-dense materials that has really has allowed the human race to thrive and really enabled a lot of advancements. And then economical efficiencies. For example, in milk production in 1950 until now, we've cut the number of dairy cows in half, and we produce 3 to 4 times more milk. So it's just an example of the efficiencies of agriculture and how much it's gone. And then the social aspect of sustainability is the local communities. In agriculture started, it was almost 50% of the population was involved in food production. Now it's less than 2%. And so it really impacts the local community by not only producing food in your area so that you're food secure, but also to export that to other parts of the world. So kind of the agriculture refocused here. What I'm involved in the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, which is Pennsylvania's largest farm organization, specifically young ag professionals. So I had written an article in the Altoona Mirror, and it was really focused on the state of agriculture and going forward. And as we've seen, not just during COVID, but in the last number of years, the large get larger. There's a lot of consolidation right now within production agriculture, and then the middle of the road, the average producer, they're selling out because they can't make the numbers crunch. Whereas the small operations are diversifying into doing something similar to what we're doing, is processing or doing farmers markets or on the farm events. So it's really, it's really a matter of economics for a lot of operations out there.
4 minutes.
And as you've seen in COVID, it induced a lot of basics. People went back to drinking milk, orange juice, eggs, butter. They were on the basics. They got rid of the additional stuff. It was really interesting to watch people reinvent themselves into the way that our parents really consumed food. And of course, local foods did prosper because there was a lot of shortages around the world, in the country. So the path forward source of food, really think about where does your food come from? This is something that impacts you not once, twice, but 3 times a day when you're eating and of that sort. So as we go forward, there's probably going to be a rebalance of the number of farms. The number of farms has really dwindled. And I really think this is a great opportunity to move forward and really pull the American people back into agriculture to really, refocus on what the future looks like and the impact that it has on our local communities. And the last thing I leave everybody with is just be intentional. Just think about when you buy that product, where it comes from, who you're supporting in our local community. There's just so many options for local. And if you don't see it, just ask your grocery store or ask, if you're in a school, ask the school, where are you getting your milk from? Where does it come from? You'll be surprised where you hear things are coming from across the country, out of this country. It's just really intriguing. Just ask questions and be intentional. We all want to support our community. And a lot of times it just doesn't happen just because it might not be the most convenient or it might be at the best price point. But that's really in a wrap of what I have. And if anybody has more questions, I'd be more than willing to offer what I have. So thank you.
Thank you. I really like the presentation and the history and everything of it and the local farms. And my favorite food is ice cream. So it's great that you make that. So let's see. So now Rick Bloom, the citizen advocate, the educator that's engaged in researching and trying out sustainable energy. So, Rick.
I'm a retired science teacher, science nerd, grew up on the farm, and I've been an advocate for sustainable and alternative energies for a long time now. And I'm not going to read all these. I just want to point out a few things. I'm talking about sustainable energy, and that means a lot of things, especially practicality. Over the years, I've seen a lot of types of energy that are not practical. They spent so much time doing things and pressing buttons that they didn't work. It has to be something that's practical to work at this time, and cost effective. It doesn't do you any good to have an alternative energy or clean energy source that costs 3 or 4 times what a regular energy source would. And to be sustainable, for me, it really has to be environmentally clean, and that means cradle to grave, not just simply using it right now. You've got to minimize your habitat disruption. You don't want to be, harming species, and also minimal pollution. And one of the things to remember, there is no such thing as a perfectly sustainable energy source. They're all bad to some extent. You want to use the least bad one, and that has to be a matter of facts. As an example here, I have an aerial photograph of an area here in eastern Cambria County, and you can see in the upper left corner there how much of that landscape is destroyed, but that's a surface mine. And in the middle, there's a couple little dots there, and that is wind turbines that people complain about all the forest that they have destroyed. And yet the forest around them will be there essentially almost forever, but the strip mine, it's gone. And so unsustainable are things like coal. I have nothing personally against coal, but it's a limited supply. It's why we have ghost town. We produce more carbon dioxide from this than anything else. Acid mine drainage is a problem in terms of trout streams. And a lot of people don't even think about the millions of tons of toxic coal ash that are produced every year. Oil and natural gas are such a limited supply and the source of international conflicts, producing a lot of CO2. And of course, oil spills are major problems around the world. And nuclear is a great source of energy in terms of being low carbon. And although a lot of people think it's dangerous, nobody in the United States has died in a commercial nuclear power plant accident, but they are unbelievably expensive. And the taxpayers are on the hook for a lot of these reactors that either go bad or anything like that. And we still don't know what to do about the nuclear waste. Now, we generally think of our energies coming from the grid. So we have coal, nuclear, and hydroelectric as our traditional sources of electricity for the grid. We have some new sources like natural gas, and these are local. This is CPV's natural gas power plant here in Cambria County. The Patton Wind Project here in Cambria County. Although the two utility scale solar down here, they're actually part of Penn State's program. And these are putting out electricity into the grid. And that's a pretty new thing that's going on. And what do we use this for? You know, like grid supply electricity is for all of our homes and businesses, propane and gas, cooking and heating. You know, all this stuff that we're using on an everyday business purpose. Now, in terms of new energy sources, and these may not all sound like energy sources, but these are the things that are much more sustainable. Insulation, energy that we don't use is just like having free energy. If anything, the first thing anybody should consider in terms of sustainability is insulate their homes and buy appliances if you're going to have to buy one that's much more efficient.
4
Heat
minutes.
pumps and machines are super efficient. So ground source heat pumps, everybody should put them in new homes. And we have solar arrays, wind turbines, outdoor wood furnaces, whole house generators. These of their sustainability. A lot of these are being put up around here. And this is my own personal system. It's on our 30 by 40 pole barn. And it's producing 80% of the electric. They're heated and cooled by geothermal heat pump. And in the 10 years or so that we've had this, we've produced 91,000 kilowatt hours of electricity. And a lot of people say this stuff doesn't work around here. Well, I said, look at my system, and it does work. And the same with geothermal. I've had people tell me that doesn't work. And this is the thing is, everybody has a different situation in terms of their energy. And we can, each of us look to see how we can get rid of bad forms of energy, how we can get better sources of energy. And I'm asking everybody to think about when they do this, you know, what they're doing in terms of their effect on their neighbors, as well as what we're doing for ourselves. And in addition, we should reach out to our communities, reach out to our legislatures, and have them promote these clean energies that are going to make, that are going to be sustainable. That is, we're going to be able to use them for longer and longer points of time.
5 minutes.
And hopefully, you know, if anybody has questions about it, they can talk to me in the breakout session.
Thank you very much, Rick. I liked your presentation. It was interesting looking at it from the aerial photo. And so we have not had any questions submitted for the speakers. So we could, if you want, just move forward to getting into the discussion rooms, and people can talk with the speakers there as well.
Now's the time, I think, for reading out Heather.
Yes. So I wound up being the note taker.
Oh,
in the room with, that's okay. With it was very interesting discussion. The room with Rick Bloom and Patrick Albright, who's also a retired science teacher, and a good discussion about energy. One of the things that came out was the need that there should be solar energy at the high school, that would be a good goal. It would save the district a lot of money, and it would be a good demonstration project of how solar really works. So that's something that I think could be a project coming out of this session tonight and going through with, you know, having a little group that would like to support this, you know, that this would be one of the projects that Reimagine Cambria Blair would work on. So.
Super. And I guess, so you were in room 4, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, is anybody from room 1 through 3, 1, 2, or 3, perhaps maybe starting with room 1, interested in giving a little bit of a share out of what you went through? Yeah, looks like Andre is ready.
Yes, sir. Okay, so I was the note taker, but we had some good conversation. Not only were we able to talk about ideas for moving forward, but we actually got to talk about some things that exist that people don't necessarily know exist, that could gain some publicity and be really good molds for the entire state. So we talked about mentorship opportunities through the Flood City Youth Fitness Academy, run by Mr. Cashaw Sr. himself. 19,000 square foot space that offered virtual learning spaces for students coming through the pandemic and are going to continue offering those spaces. And we talked about how we can expand that concept to other places, potentially with Penn State, with Altoona School District, with various school districts in the area, to provide a safe place with Wi-Fi access and technological access, especially for families that have multiple children in the homes. One Wi-Fi router or one hotspot wasn't enough to support 3 and 4 and 5 kids all in school taking their Zoom classes. And I have a feeling that online learning is going to be something kind of set going forward. We also talked about kind of impacts on the environment and how both the Johnstown CTC and the new facility, Altoona School District, have things like wind, solar, and electric automotive trade skills, robotics engineering classes, hanging vegetable gardens and culinary facilities, and now how Altoona School District is working on putting rooftop gardens at the high school, which are all important in teaching people how to contribute back to renewable energy, giving them trade skills moving forward and practical skills in gardening, and teaching them about the environment. And we also talked about a program called the First Waves program, teaching kids both recreational and environmental skills in the local rivers, and how we could expand that with Glendale being directly between Blair and Cambria County, giving kids opportunities to paddleboard and learn about the waterways that they're having recreation in. So a lot of good things going around. And we also briefly talked about the importance of adult mentorship. So we have 2 and 3 generations of people in Johnstown since the steel mills closed, and multiple generations of people in the Altoona area and in between that are spending time in jail over things like failure to pay child support, small drug possession, petty crime, that are being institutionalized as they're in there. And they're losing their opportunity to gain parenting skills. And as they go back out, they feel more comfortable feeling or being in institutions, or avoiding their families instead of being able to head on and address those issues. So enabling adults to step up for their families and create a sustainable home and a sustainable future for their kids going forward. So a lot of good conversation.
That sounds terrific. You did a great job with all those notes.
Super. And so now somebody perhaps from room 2. Anybody willing to speak out there or share out?
Is that
Chris?
Kathy? Which group was Kathy cooking?
Yeah, Kathy's in room 2.
Was it room 2? Okay, I wasn't sure which room after a while. Anyway, Chris, Joyce Young asked a lot of good questions, and Chris mentioned the fact that they're having Joyce wanted to know how we can get the word out about all the programs that Chris has to offer. And there was talking about the need for television to get more involved, advertisement online and in the community, because Joyce felt that the community doesn't always know what things are out there, and they may not be involved in finding these things out until it's too late. How do people seek out services? There needs to be more things done for that. I think Tracy mentioned a 211 system from United Way, and and she said the referral is only as good as the information out there, so we need to get more information out there. People aren't aware until there is a crisis. There needs to be flyers, posters, and also the fact that a lot of work goes into advertising in Altoona and Pittsburgh, but there's no need, there's nothing that recognizes the communities in between, and they need to promote outside, quote, urban areas. They're not really urban areas. As far as how the environment and the food bank are connected, Chris talked about how they have a sustainability community at the food bank, and they're working on rescue foods, lowering carbon pollution, making sure that they go to the local farms, less shipping, and they are going to a bigger facility, which is a green facility, and they're renovating and still making it green. They do think a lot about the environment. They also talked about housing for abused women. There is a Johnstown shelter, but they lost some money. And let's see, the Victim Services has gained some money, and they're renovating apartments for rooms for shelters. And we talked about whether the Salvation Army had places for emergency program, and we came down to the fact that there is a community action program that can help in emergency situations. So that's basically what we talked about.
Thank you, Kathy.
Go ahead, Heather.
No, well.
Sorry. Yeah, we have one more room, room 3. Would anybody from room 3? And that had Etta, Francis, Jerry, Paula, and Simon.
I'll be honest with you. In talking with Simon and Gerald, there's so many things that we as consumers need to be aware of what we can do. The power of consumers cannot be overstated in keeping a sustainable food supply in our communities and providing vigilance over our waterways to see what's happening so that we can, that we can keep problems from happening. So in the area of the locally produced foods, though, there needs to be a market locally. And that's why all of us need to buy brands that we know are produced in our communities. And if the stores do not carry it, we need to ask the managers to carry it, because there is a lot of competition with brand names. And if we want to have sustainable communities that are as independent as we can be, as what we learned is an essential need during these crises, like for the pandemic and so forth. So we want to have that security of having food production in our areas that we can count on to be available to us. So that's probably as best I could do to sum it up. But Valewood Farms, I know, has educational programs at different times, inviting the community to go there and visit. And I would highly recommend that if none of you have been there yet, to make it a priority. I don't know how COVID has affected that community service that they provide, but please pay attention to that. And when they do have it, make sure you visit the farm and see for yourself what beautiful resources we have here in Cambria County.
Perfect. I think that's all we have scheduled for tonight before next steps and closing comments. Heather.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. I'd like to thank our speakers so much. Etta did a wonderful job of putting together this list of speakers. It had variety, and the speakers, you guys were all excellent. I know we didn't give you that much time to talk, but we'll be hopefully continuing to meet to discuss these issues. And, you can get a longer time to talk at some point. But we really thank you for your participation tonight. For the speakers, let's have some applause for the speakers. And I'd like to thank the audience for being here tonight and for participating in the writing and the discussion, and for being part of the. We have never done one of these virtually. We do visioning sessions, these Reimagine sessions with people around tables and serve food, and it's a great experience. And we had never done a virtual one, so we got to do it tonight. And thanks to all of you for your participation on that. And we have some good recommendations coming out of this that we can continue to work on. So I think this is, yes, I'm definitely in favor of anything with food, right, Andre? So yeah, well, it's nice, but well, hopefully conditions will allow us to do that at some point, not too long from now. But this worked tonight, and I'm real pleased. And so the next steps, we have the document, the Google document. So we'll be analyzing that, see what themes come out of that. And we'll do follow-up activities, maybe a presentation focused a little longer and focused on an issue, a particular issue that's been identified. So we often, what we do is we divide into task force groups. So subgroups of people who've attended, who work together, pick a particular issue and work together. So we might have a group working on getting solar in the high school, and a group working on promoting local foods, so, and doing that over time and looking for funding, and for some projects need funding, looking for sources of funding. So that's what we'd like to do if people are interested, or people, raise your hand if you'd like to see us pursue this more. Okay, good. Thanks. So last but not least, I'd like to have Etta speak, and I really appreciate what she's done here. It's really excellent, because I just said we want to do the Reimagine. I explained like what the visioning sessions were about, and then she conceived the theme of public health, safety, and well-being and safety. And, and picked, you guys as speakers. She researched you and, talked to you about what to say. Okay. And I just want to finish. So I want to thank you, Etta, so much. And we do have the Francis Huggs has a question. Is it Francis? Francis, do you have a question? Mark, you said somebody had a question.
Yeah, Francis had her hand up, but maybe they just put the hand down, so that might have been.
Oh, okay.
A mistake.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you were just saying, yeah, they want more.
Yeah, good. Yeah, hands
Good.
up, raise the hand. You did the right thing. Good. Sorry, I misinterpreted that. Good. Okay. No other questions that I can see.
So if Etta, if you'd like to say the final remarks.
This has been a real growing experience for me to work with Heather and Mark in putting this program together, because I do not have many technical skills, and they've been very, very patient. So thank you for so much. But I have to give credit to the League of Women Voters. I am a member at large of the League of Women Voters, and that means that we do not have a local chapter in Blair or Cambria County. And I find that they are really nonpartisan and help to look at things without any kind of preconceived expectations. And so talking with people and bringing this together, it was very easy because we have such a wealth. These 8 speakers, to me, are just a tip of the wealth that's in Cambria and Blair County to work with. And so the message that I would like for all of us, the attendees and the speakers, to take with us is, why do we want to live, work, play, learn, and enjoy here, and look at the resources that we have to build on? And so each of us in different capacities can reconnect with each other over time when we see that there are needs here to be met, because you're already providing vital needs. You're the anchors in this community. So it was pretty easy to tap in and ask you to be a part of this. But we'd like for this to be continued so that we don't lose touch, and perhaps part of it to have ongoing discussions in the libraries when things come up that we know that you would like to have brought to the public's attention. So any way that we can help each other out, I like to think of us all as stakeholders, and this is just the beginning of more community awareness and engagement, envisioning sustainable communities underscored by public health, well-being, and safety. Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Mark, and thank you, speakers and attendees.
Great. Thank you, Etta. And with that, I think we will close out this event. So thanks everybody for attending, and stay tuned for future actions down the road.